Hello, I'm Bernie Hayes. Today's show will be about Homer G. Phillips Hospital. Our first guest will be Yvonne Jones, president of the Homer G. Phillips Nurses Alumni Incorporated. And our second guest will be registered nurse Zenobia Thompson, president of the Change the Name Coalition. Today on The Bernie Hayes Show. And welcome back. I'm Bernie Hayes. My guest is the president of the Homer G. Phillips Nurses Alumni Incorporated, Mrs. Yvonne Jones. Ms. Jones, how are you?
I'm doing well this morning, thank you.
You were a nurse at Homer G. Phillips Hospital.
Yes, I graduated from Homer G. Phillips Hospital in 1968. I was in the last class.
Last class before they closed it?
Yes.
Tell us about the history of Homer G. Phillips Hospital.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be here, first of all.
Oh, it's more than welcome. Thank you.
A bond issue was passed in 1923 for a public hospital to be located in the Ville neighborhood. It was presented by Homer G. Phillips, who was a lawyer. He wanted a hospital that would serve the African American community in St. Louis. The hospital was built in 1937, 6 years after his death. It was a 600-bed hospital which served men, women, and children. The hospital also provided professional training for physicians, graduated 1,032 nurses. It had radiology, phlebotomy, and medical records for more than 4 decades. In 1979, without warning, the mayor at that time had the switchboard shut down, had dogs, police dogs on the front, police on horsebacks in the emergency room, and police in helicopters overhead. They shut the hospital down and moved everybody to city number 1 without warning. In 2003, the facility was renovated and is currently open as a senior citizen living facility. The landmark location in the Ville is surrounded by St. James Methodist Church, Antioch Baptist Church, Sumner High School, which is the first black high school located this side of the Mississippi. And if people would remember, they have Billy Burke's, which was famous for hamburgers, Sarah Lou's, which was famous for its shrimp, and Annie Malone Children's Home. The hospital is located in the Ville, is recognized at the Missouri History Museum in Forest Park. It's recognized George B. Vashon History Museum, 2223 St. Louis Avenue, and of course, the National History Museum, which is located in Washington, D.C. This hospital is featured in the VHS tape called The Jewel. It's featured in a DVD called The Color of Medicine, the story of Homer G. Phillips. As a matter of fact, the DVD won a 2018 award from the Montreal International Black Film Festival. Also have a recently published book called Climbing the Ladder, Chasing the Dream. So Homer G. Phillips Hospital name is still going strong.
I know on the movie and the DVD, what you said, The Color of Medicine, the Homer G. Phillips Hospital story, also is running right now on a couple of streaming services, on Tubi and also on another one.
Yes.
So people can actually see the entire movie.
Yes.
Or a documentary on Homer G. Phillips Hospital.
Yes.
Ms. Jones, how did you become a nurse and why?
I lived in the Ville. I lived on Maffitt, and I went to Simmons School, Turner School, then Sumner High School, and I used to sit in the counselor's office and see the nurses with the white uniforms on leaving their dormitory going to Homer G. Phillips. And I decided that this was something I wanted to do. I wanted to help people. And also years ago, I remember as a little girl, I used to go to Dr. Helen Nash's office. She was my pediatrician. And babies would be crying, and I would be worrying my mother as to why they're crying, go over there and get them and do something with them. So, of course, when I graduated from Homer G. Phillips, my training has strictly and experience has strictly been in pediatrics.
Wow,
Yeah.
This is wonderful. So, and that is Homer G. Phillips Hospital in back of you as we speak, is that right?
Yes, you see how big it is? 600-bed hospital.
Mm-hmm. It says Homer G. Phillips Hospital for color. Tell us about that.
Well, the first time I saw that picture, I was kind of surprised because I think at that time it serviced to anybody who needed help, but it was mainly for Homer Phillips because he didn't like the way we were being treated at other hospitals. It was mainly for African American people, but they treated all nationalities though.
Okay, I think we have some slides you want to show, and perhaps you can tell us what these slides are. What is that?
That is The Guardian. That is our book, which tells the history of Homer G. Phillips nurses from 1919 to 1968.
You gave me a copy of that, and this is, imagine all the graduating classes up to today, or till the time you close, are in there, and it gives all the rosters, all the nurses from the beginning up to the end of the hospital reign. Yeah. And here's another photo. Tell us what this is.
Okay, well, I wanted to tell you a little bit about what the Nurses Alumni Incorporated has done, and that's included in that picture. For over 50 years, the Homer G. Phillips nurses have provided, alumni has provided nursing scholarships. And as a matter of fact, Goldfarb School of Nursing, that's the picture that you see, has established a scholarship in our name.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So they did give out one scholarship last year. Okay. In our name.
And what is this? Who is that?
That's when we were with the Black Nurses Association convention, and we wore our uniform.
That's you in the back, is that correct?
Yeah. We don't want people to forget how we used to look.
Yeah. But tell us about the pride you had in just being a nurse at Homer G. Phillips.
Oh, wow. It was the camaraderie, the feeling that you were helping to do something for your people. Because nursing is hard. There are things that you're going to see that you don't want to see. There are things that you have to do. There are times when you have to be a brave person, put on a strong face when you don't want to. You could also have some backlashes, and that's just part of living and part of having a occupation. But it's something that you have to really love to do. Yeah.
I understand when they closed the hospital, it was really a double cross because they had promised to keep it open, and yet still they lied to the Black community. They lied to everyone when they closed Homer G. Phillips. Is that right?
That's so true. And like I explained earlier, the bad part of it is when they shut down the switch, nobody was prepared for that. When they shut the switchboard down, that means that patients couldn't call out and the families couldn't call in. It just happened all of a sudden, and to have police dogs on the front and to have policemen on horseback in the emergency room and police and helicopters overhead with guns moving patients out. Nobody was prepared for that.
Do you think people realize the importance of Homer G. Phillips Hospital to the community?
At that time, I think they did, but a lot of people don't know about Homer Phillips Hospital because sometimes our history gets lost. The younger people don't know about, Homer G. Phillips. Well, some do, because their families will tell them, yeah, I was born in Homer G. Well, where else could you go? As a matter of fact, I was born in Homer G. in 1947 also. So we just want to keep the legacy going.
And I think we have another slide showing a press conference. Tell us what this is.
Well, Ms. Zenobia is going to explain that a lot better than me, but I can tell you that Homer G. Phillips and Nurses Alumni Incorporated applied for a trademark in 2021 and was registered May 24th in 2022, which means you can't use that name but Homer G. Phillips Nurses. And in the process July the 11th, 2022, the Homer G. Phillips Nurses Alumni had to file a federal lawsuit against Mr. Paul McKee for using the name of Homer G. Phillips on a 3-bed facility, which is located on Jefferson and Cass, without knowledge, community input, and refusing to meet with us. He just did it on his own.
Kind of a slap in the face, isn't it?
Basically, Homer G. Phillips was a 600-bed, and then he built this 3-bed and put his name on there.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And because of the DVDs, the books, and the history, Homer G. Phillips' name needs to remain in the Ville. We're not against the facility. We just want the name off.
And that beautiful building in back of you was Homer G. Phillips Hospital.
Yes, yes. Wasn't it beautiful?
Mm-hmm. They call one city number 1 and city number 2. Tell us how there were distinctions between city number 1 and number 2 and what they meant.
I didn't go to city number 1. Mm-hmm. As a student, we were there for, I think, Malcolm Bliss. But I didn't really work there because I left before it closed. I went to Cardinal Glennon. So, but the structure was just outstanding compared to city number 1. I don't think city number 1 had 600-bed hospital compared to Homer G. Phillips.
So there were 2 hospitals, city number 1.
City number 1, and there were 2 nursing schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the Homer G. Phillips Hospital was a training ground, I understand, for most of the black doctors of the country.
Yes, and nurses.
And nurses.
From the South, because he couldn't go anywhere else.
So Meharry Institute was one, and Homer G. Phillips was the other training ground for all the African-American nurses and doctors in the country, I understand.
Yes. Yes,
wow,
sir.
That's amazing. How can they reach you, Ms. Jones?
You can reach me at my home number, 314-868-0288, or 314-799-5193. And we are hoping that people will help us bring this to fruition, that the name be removed.
Ms. Jones, I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this segment. What a pleasure it's been just to talk to you and seeing you and knowing how vital you are trying to save the name of Homer G. Phillips Hospital.
Thank you so much.
With the lawsuit. We'll be right back. Zenobia Thompson after this.
This is an opportunity that God has given all of us at this time to work together to reopen 1411 Locust, which is so urgently needed at this community. I thank God for Bernie Hayes and for his support and standing with us all these particular years. Now it's so critical that you and I do our part also, as Bernie's been partnering with us here at NLEC TV. We've continued to maintain faith, continue to move forward, and now the doors have been opened. The City of St. Louis has approved our architectural plans. We've been given the go-ahead to make the necessary renovations that are needed. We need some miracles, and that's why I'm asking all of you prayer warriors out there, all of you that are going to use that mustard seed of faith to remove the mountains. There's some mountains. Rich and powerful people have moved back in the neighborhood, and they don't want 1411 Locust to open. They'd rather leave the people out on the street to slowly die, starved, used, misused, worked over by drug dealers, alcohol, and everything else. We want this place to be a place of hope for those that have lost all hope. And we want to open the doors, and we can do it. As you prayer warriors, go to God in earnest prayer, knocking on the doors of heaven. When He says, ask, it shall be given you, seek, and you shall find, knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Please continue to pray. Pray that God will just let the financial resources come in so we can make all of these repairs. He'll raise up the dedicated laborers for the harvest, that we will continue to see Him do exceedingly abundantly beyond what we can even ask or think. Yes, this is a spiritual battle. The principality and powers are fighting from every direction, but greater is He in us than he that's in the world. And that's why I'm asking all of you to join us in prayer. Believe God with us. Contact us at New Life Evangelistic Center if you believe that there's people God laid on your heart that we should see. Ask for myself, Larry Rice, or my grandson, Chris Aaron Rice, that we can go visit and share the dream with you, and call us at 314-421-3020. Please pray. Get involved now. We need the body of Christ to arise as we work together to reopen this building for the glory of God.
And welcome back. I'm Bernie Hayes. Today's guest today, this segment is Zenobia Thompson, a registered nurse. And Zenobia is head of the Change the Name Coalition. I think we saw a picture of Zenobia with Ms. Jones earlier, just before we took the break. Zenobia, that's you standing next to Ms. Jones, is that right?
Yes, that is.
It says McKee faces federal lawsuit for use of Homer G. Phillips' name. Tell us about that and what is the name of the change the name coalition?
What Change the Name Coalition came about over 2 years ago when we became aware that a developer, Paul McKee, was planning to use the name of Homer G. Phillips for a 3-bed clinic that he was building in on Jefferson, near Jefferson and Cass. And this was a sign saying Homer G. Phillips Hospital was coming. And what happened was Jobina Jones, our president of the Homer G. Phillips Nursing Alumni at that time, called me and said, what is this, Homer G. Phillips Hospital coming? So that put me in motion to find out what was going on, and that this white developer's plan to use the honorable name of Homer G. Phillips. And so we started organizing and mobilizing the community to express our opposition to the use of the name of Homer G. Phillips Hospital. That was in January of 2020. And so Paul McKee ignored our request to use another name and proceeded to put the name of Homer G. Phillips on this newly constructed facility at Jefferson and Cass, Homer G. Phillips. And so that kicked up our organization and mobilizing our community against this. There was a public meeting where over 150 citizens expressed their discontent and opposition to using the name of Homer G. Phillips. This diminishes and devalues the honorable name of Homer G. Phillips. And Homer G. Phillips was not about a private 3-bed clinic, on Jefferson and Cass.
Right.
And we, vehemently opposed it. Well, and even the Board of Aldermen held a hearing where we requested that Paul McKee changed the name, making it very understandable that we were not opposing the facility healthcare-wise. We want the name changed.
Sure.
Choose another name.
Okay. Zenobia, you've been on the front line for a long time. I mean, you've been an activist in the community for so many years. In fact, you even marched for me on several occasions when I was in trouble with different radio stations. You were out there marching and supporting me. But I remember when they proposed closing Homer G. Phillips Hospital, you were on the front line to save that hospital. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was a nurse at Homer G. Phillips at the time. I graduated from Homer G. Phillips in 1965. After I graduated, I worked there for a couple of years, and then I went to Barnes Hospital, experienced a lot of racism, and was unjustly terminated there. And so I went back, returned to Homer G. Phillips. I was quite happy. I was doing what I loved to do. And they talk of closing Homer G. Phillips again. And Miss Annie Jackson, who worked in the X-ray, asked me to come to a communication meeting. And I said, well, what can I do? So I went to the communication meeting, and I've been involved in, I guess you could say, the movement, the struggle, and around the struggle for keep Homer G. Phillips open, and the struggle to reopen Homer G. Phillips, which went on for several years. Sure, yeah. And basically, I came into the movement for peace, justice, and equality and Black liberation through the struggle to keep our Black hospital open.
I remember Vincent Shamo, when he was mayor, promised twice to reopen Homer G. Phillips Hospital.
Yes.
And you and Laura one time went down to the mayor's office demanding that he reopen that hospital. Tell us a little bit about that incident.
Yeah. Well, The Committee to Save Homer G. Phillips Hospital and the Campaign for Human Dignity. That was one of our actions when we went to the mayor's office to insist that, he reopened the hospital. At the time, it was about 7 of us that went into his office, and they were doing some construction work. And when the mayor came in, he picked up a hammer, and I could see that he was getting ready to hit Laura Moore, who was a member of our committee.
Right.
And I jumped up and said, if you hit her, you got to hit me, So that just stunned him. And fortunately, nothing happened.
Sure.
But yes, I'll never forget that day. Laura and I were dear friends until she passed. Yes.
Well, he was a good friend of mine too, and you two really set the tone for saving the coalition at that particular time. There was ad hoc committees at the time. Yeah.
Yes.
Now we have a couple of flyers I want to show you. A couple of slides. Tell us what this is.
Well, this is a Change the Name Coalition fundraiser that is being conducted by Reverend Kevin Couch and Miss Ollie Stewart of the Southside Wellness Center. And it's a fundraiser to support the lawsuit that Ms. Jones mentioned earlier, with the Homer G. Phillips Nursing Alumni lawsuit. And the Change the Name Coalition is standing 1,000% behind this lawsuit. And so this is a fundraiser because lawsuits are not free. And so this is one of the fundraisers that we're having coming up on Thursday, October the 27th at 11:30 to 1 p.m. And we inviting everyone, please,
Okay, that's going to be at 3017 Park, Southside Wellness Center, Ms. Ollie Stewart's place, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a phone number they can call for more information on that?
They can also call me at area code 314-381-3301.
And do you have a website or email address
Yes,
they can reach you?
my website is ZenobiaThompsondated10. It's charter.net.com, I'm sorry.
Okay, .net instead of .com. Okay. There's another slide I want to show you. Tell us what this is about.
That is our flyer, to mobilize folks, as I said, join us in opposing this name, Homer G. Phillips, on the first and third Saturdays of each month from 12 to 1, weather permitting. We're demonstrating and rallying at that facility near Jefferson and Cass, behind, it's a picture of this facility bearing the name Homer G. Phillips, and you see the mark that says, no. And so this is one of our organizing tools, and every first and third Saturday of the month, we're there saying we want that name changed. We're rallying and demonstrating that we want that name changed. That's to keep the community involved and the community aware of what's happening.
Jefferson and Cass is a present rare.
Yeah, I mean.
Other things happen too that are not Jefferson and Cass. About the Jefferson Bank demonstrations at that same location.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. And I think we have another slide.
Yeah.
The book. This book. Tell us about this.
Okay, this is a book that the author Candace O'Connor, in fact, she worked on it for several years. She came to the Homer G. Phillips Nursing Alumni meeting about 4 or 5 years ago, saying she wanted to write a book, history of Homer G. Phillips. And she did very extensive, research and interviews. She interviewed all of the nurses. She interviewed the doctors. And she produced a really fine book on the history of Homer G. Phillips. And what I really like about it is she makes it very personal, because personal stories come out, experiences and feelings that people had. And it just captures what Homer G. Phillips meant, not only to the people who were involved in Homer G. Phillips, the nurses and the doctors, but the community Homer G. Phillips was like a solid rock in our community. It was a jewel. It provided a lot of stability in terms of jobs, and it just was a wonderful place to work. It was a wonderful place for people in the community. And so she captures this story very, very much. In fact, did an interview with her some time ago from Left Bank Bookstore and was talking about. And she also thinks that putting the Homer G. Phillips name on this 3-bed private clinic is an abomination, which everybody, pretty much feels that way.
So Zenobia, where can we get that book? Do you know?
You can get it on Amazon, and I'm sure you can get it at Left Bank Bookstore.
Okay. So this is wonderful. We'll be right back after this break.
Will you answer the call to purity and service? There are so many people who are hurting in this broken world, and you, as a Christian, can be a light and salt in the world today. By reading the Word of God, we realize that we should take trials and find joy in them, persevere, and win the crown of life at the end of the age. You can make a difference in another person's life by witnessing the gospel to them today. They need to hear it from you. Share your trials and your persecutions and the things that you're going through to build up a community of believers who strongly want to serve and honor God with everything that they have. By loving others in this way, you witness the gospel to them. You give them the ability to find salvation in Jesus Christ alone. Amen.
Today's feature is on Homer G. Phillips, prominent St. Louis attorney, born in Sedalia, Missouri in 1880. He was the son of a Methodist minister, but he was orphaned in infancy and raised by an aunt. Phillips' interest in law led him to Washington, D.C., where he lived with renowned African-American poet Paul Laurence Dunbar while attending Howard University Law School. Upon his return to St. Louis, Phillips became an active attorney and political figure in St. Louis. In 1922, he was given the prominent role of securing approximately $1 million to construct a new hospital for African Americans on the city's north side. On June 18, 1931, 51-year-old Phillips left his home at 7:45 a.m. to take a streetcar to his office downtown St. Louis. He was gunned down by two assassins, and no one has ever been convicted of this murder, and no motive of the killing was ever established. Although Phillips did not live to see the hospital named in his honor, the Homer G. Phillips Hospital was opened in 1937 to serve the city's black population and to enable African-American physicians to gain staff privileges. Our features, Homer G. Phillips.
Hello, I'm Larry Rice, and I'm inviting you to join me daily on the New Life Facebook page. Something new, something exciting every day. So go to facebook.com/NewLifeSTL and discover what's happening on a daily basis as New Life Evangelistic Center begins to share with you a wide variety of subjects. I look forward to visiting you on the Facebook page. Remember, there's so much just waiting for you at that particular page.
And welcome back. My guest is Zenobia Thompson, and before that was Yvonne Jones. She's the president of the Homer G. Phillips Nurses Alumni Association. Once again, Zenobia, just tell us how we can reach you and how the viewers who are viewing us right now can help.
Well, you can reach me at area code 314-381-3301, and of course in my email. And also the Change the Name Coalition meets every Thursday at 3 o'clock at the Southside Wellness Center, which is 3017 Park. We are laser focused on getting that name removed. Okay. And that is one of the reasons that the Change the Name Coalition wholeheartedly supports the Homer G. Phillips Nursing Alumni.
Okay. Thank you, Zenobia. We're out of time, but it's been such a wonderful thing having you and Ms. Jones here. And good luck to you, and I'm going to help all the support that I can. Thank you all for watching and supporting New Life Evangelistic Center. I'm Bernie Hayes.